there's a difference between process conversations and content conversations, right? And so in any dialogue, like we're coming in ideally because there's this thing. There's this observation that happened that we can all agree upon. I want to talk about when you said that thing about the banana peels in front of the door, right? So that would be the content conversation. And that content conversation might also include me naming some of these systemic pieces, me naming like trauma. All of that's content. That's information that I want you to have, places where we want to get to shared understanding about. Processes, how are we having this conversation, right? How am I feeling heard, received? How are you able to reflect me? Am I trusting that I'm understood? Am I trusting that there's openness to my experience? And a lot of times when the missteps happen, if the process is solid and you make a content misstep, it works, right? I'll just be like, no, that's not what I meant. Let me talk about this. So the reason these conversations go really, really bad is that there's a process break. Somehow I've lost trust that you're with me, or that you get me, or that you're still open-hearted. And I would invite folks that when these things happen, when there's this kind of break in the conversation, to slow down and look at process. Slow down and re-invite, what are we talking about in terms of intentionality? And as we look at process, it could be something like, before we even go there, I notice that I'm feeling a little bit of a contraction because I'm worried that either I've lost you or that you're judging me in this moment. And I just want to check if there's any stories coming up about what I'm saying. So it's not a story about the validity of what I'm saying, but it's just like, are you thinking that I'm a liar? Are you thinking that I'm, blowing something up, making a mountain out of a molehill, right? Being too sensitive or whatever. What's going on at the process level here? And if we can intend to process, the content stuff gets woken out. It's actually relatively easy to talk about the content once the process is in place. So that's one of the pieces that I would name. For me, in order to be accountable, it means that I'm showing up, right? I'm showing up, open-heartedly listening for how I've impacted you different than my intention. So if somebody is telling me, you did this, you did that, however they're telling it to me, they might be saying, when you said that thing about the banana peel, I felt really sad and it was painful for me. Or they might be saying, that was hella racist, right? So however they bring it, what I'm listening for is, this person is telling me I had an impact. And if I had an impact on somebody, is there any part of me that says I want to attend to that impact? And I could attend to it with listening, or I could attend to it with, I'm going to take some steps to make sure that doesn't happen again. And if I'm able to acknowledge the impact that I had, speak to it, and share what it is that I want to do to attend to it, I'm holding myself accountable. And for me, it's super simple, right? I'm committing to showing up non-defensively and saying, yes, whether or not my intentions were beautiful, I had an impact. And I want to understand at some of the strategies we can take to attend to impact, to show accountability is, what can I do to increase my understanding? That doesn't necessarily require the person in front of me to increase my understanding, right? It could be, I'm really grateful you shared that with me. I'm going to go do some work and understand the pieces that I don't get. And if you're willing, I'm happy to come back and let you know what I understood to make sure that I got the piece, I got the learning you wanted me to have. But I don't need you to do that. I'm happy to show up in that way if it supports you, right? So that's one of the ways I can show up with accountability. Another one could be, wow, I realized that there are ways that I've actually harmed folks. Hearing you, I can see how this pattern has showed up in different parts of my life. And one of the things I want to do is to make myself available for people who've been impacted, to let them know that I get that I've had an impact and I'm open to anything that they want me to hear about that, right? So I can make a commitment to go back and check in with the folks who might have been impacted in ways that I'm only now aware of. And then, of course, there are the many, many, many larger things I could do, right? I could join organizations, I could show up in support, I can give money. There's so many different things I can do to actually work to address whatever that pattern is that I realize I'm part of. How do you call someone in for accountability? And I think it requires a lot of vulnerability, and sometimes we're not willing to go there. And for me, that's the most powerful way to invite accountability. If it's true, what I said, that accountability is that I'm acknowledging my impact, one of the biggest ways to invite someone into accountability is to tell them the impact, to tell them what it was like for you when you experienced this thing that they did, what it stirred up in you, what it connected to, how it connected to these other systemic pieces and what that does to you, right? And that's a really vulnerable place to be in. Sometimes we're just like, yeah, I'm not going to go there with you. I just want to tell you that's racist and that's it. That's all I can do. That's a lot less vulnerable than saying, wow, when you said that, it brought up every single time I've been judged by white people. And people assume that I'm not smart enough or I'm not this or that because I'm a woman or because I'm Black. And it is painful to have that come up in a place where I felt safe. That's a lot more vulnerable place to go, but it definitely gives that person a sense of the impact of where the pain is. And if you can go there, you can also ask the person, before you say anything else, I want to make sure that you got what I'm trying to tell you about how this was for me. So could you tell me your understanding of why this was hard for me, why this was painful, why this hurt, right? So I'm actually inviting them to articulate the impact that I've just told them. So that's one way to call someone into accountability. As a bystander, I can do it in the same way, right? I can talk about, like, well, when I just saw what just happened, here's what came up for me. Here are the places where I'm impacted. Here are the values of mine that got stimulated, right? I'm longing for every single person to be seen and trusted for their competence. And when I heard you ask that question, I kind of got shaken that that wasn't happening in this case. And it's not the world I want to be in. So I can invite people in by going to what matters, what's my core experience, what are my values, and asking them to see how what they said or did isn't aligned with that. So that's the first piece. And then the second piece is, what do I do when someone says that to me, right? And I didn't get it, I didn't see it. Again, pause, stop, don't do anything, right? That's the first thing you can do. Don't do anything. Just stop and listen and notice what was coming. Just notice, like, am I responding inside with any defensiveness? Is there a part of me that's going, nope, nope, didn't do that, It's part of what's happening that my stories got activated. Oh my God, they're saying I'm racist. I'm a bad person. I can't be a bad person, so I can't hear that message. So just notice what's coming up inside of you and pay attention to that, not out loud, just notice it. And then say, and what is it that they're really wanting me to hear about their experience? And if the only thing you can do is reflect that back, reflect that back. What did they want you to hear about their experience? And if you need to take a break after you've done that, take a break. Say, I'm really glad to hear this. I'd like, unless there's something else you'd like from me in this moment, I'd like to take some time to sit and really be with what I just heard and make sure that I understand it. And then come back and let you know how I want to show up in relation to it or what I might offer. But you can slow things down. There's not the sense that just because you told me this, I have to have the right answer and the right strategy right in the moment, right? But we can reflect back what we heard of the impact in the moment, even if there's nothing else.